Aeterna Noctis is a massive Metroidvania with some amazing level design and challenging game mechanics. You play as the King of Darkness in a very weak state, because he has been defeated by his counterpart, the Queen of Light. To regain his powers, he has to collect the 7 fragments of the Shrine of the Kings. The Queen and he are cursed to defeat each other and take over the crown for eternity. When one defeats the other, a new cycle begins. Your character acts like he already knows what to expect, because he has done it thousands of times. But you as the player have no clue what is going to happen next, and what kind of obstacles will be in your way. But the funny thing is, the King of Darkness does come across some surprises he didn't expect at all, so I guess he's just as unsuspecting as we are. I was really confused about the voice acting in the beginning, or specifically the language and the voice editing. The opening cutscene has English dialogue, but the in-game language is like a mix between Spanish and Chinese. Apparently the developers decided to make up a fictional language called Aeternian, just to make it feel more authentic. It took me a while to get used to, and the same goes for this bitchy voice editing of some NPCs. It sounds really strange and a bit unprofessional. Anyways, this game is massive, and I mean massive. It's probably the biggest Metroidvania I have ever played. The map is enormous, and some areas can feel like a giant maze. But luckily there are a lot of checkpoints and the death penalty isn't that punishing. If you lose all your health, you will lose a bit of experience, but you can get it back if you regain your lost soul. I'm really happy with all these checkpoints, because the platforming and some enemies can be brutal. You have 2 different difficulty modes you can choose from. Aeterna mode, which is normal difficulty, and Noctis mode, which is hard difficulty. Well, believe me, Aeterna mode is difficult enough already, because there are so many instant death zones that reset you to a specific point, and there's sadly no dodge roll, so you will get hurt by contact damage. You do have a dash ability, but you can't dash through enemies, so keep that in mind. Especially in later areas, you will come across some really challenging platform sections that may require a lot of patience and precision to complete. I'm pretty experienced at Metroidvanias. In fact, it's my favorite genre, but I did have some trouble with certain aspects of this game, or at least one specific aspect. I expect to get new abilities by beating bosses, or reaching a certain area that you will come across when all other paths are unreachable. But that wasn't always the case in this game. I was really lost after the first area, because I needed a double jump or a wall climb ability to progress. But I didn't come across one of these abilities yet. I was even allowed to enter 2 areas without this ability, but like halfway I was stopped in my tracks. It turned out that I didn't pay enough attention in the beginning, because apparently I had to fast travel back to a specific place all the way at the beginning, open a door there and get my new ability after completing a challenge. So I was like, alright, fine, now I know when I find a specific looking key, I should use it straight away, so I can unlock a new ability and reach new areas. But it turns out you do come across new abilities when you defeat bosses or get past a certain area later on. So that was really confusing to say the least. I wasted a lot of time because of this, and I don't really understand why the developers implemented this feature in the game. either do it with these doors or just do like normal Metroidvania progression. But not both, because later in the game opening these doors aren't really mandatory anymore. They will give you useful items for sure, but not essential abilities. So yeah, keep that in mind if you decide to play this game. I have to say, I really started to enjoy this game when I acquired the double jump ability. Everything became pretty straightforward from this point on, and it was clear what your next objective was going to be. And apart from some clunky arrow aiming for example, because it's a bit too sensitive, I had a blast playing the rest of this game. It's challenging for sure, almost rage-inducing sometimes, but I can't ignore the beautiful visuals, the ambitious level design in certain areas, some really memorable boss fights, and the creative atmospheric world building. And accompanied by a pretty nice soundtrack, this game is overall a really good time. The world is filled to the brim with collectibles, like soul mirror shards, music sheets for this organ you can play songs on, health upgrades, a nice amount of side quests, a few hidden weapons, some useful gems, and not to forget some optional boss fights. Obviously, I came across a few glitches, like this one where I died during a boss fight and respawned while the boss was still doing all their attacks in the room next to me. But this wasn't very common. It's a pretty polished game with a lot of potential improvements here and there, and I can't complain too much when a game has this much content. There is at least 30 hours of gameplay, and maybe even 60 hours if you would like to 100% complete it. Some areas are really memorable and maybe a bit too ambitious. Like this area where the gravity is getting flipped all over the place and where the camera does full 360s while you are doing all these challenging jumps. Or this area where things are not what they seem to be and where the exits lead you to a random room at first glance. But my favorite areas were the Abyss and Aeterna Castle, because of the level and enemy design and the cool visuals that created a bleak but beautiful atmosphere. So in general, Aeterna Noctis is a very ambitious Metroidvania with a lot of content. It has some flaws for sure, like the beginning is a bit slow and also a bit confusing, and some platforming can be really difficult when you have to use these teleport arrows. And I also would like to see a health bar when you fight bosses. The boss that does have a health bar gave me the most trouble, ironically enough. But all of this become almost irrelevant if you look at the greater picture. This game is such a breathtaking experience because of many factors that are in play. Like the massive world, some really creative and ambitious areas, very memorable boss fights or boss encounters, awesome platform sections, and just a visually stunning and very interesting world to explore. So be ready to regain your powers as the King of Darkness and prepare yourself to face the Queen of Light once more in this epic gigantic world that will keep you engaged for many hours.